Hi, I'm Ed Carmack, and I want to show you how to set up your desktop so that you're able to see the ODS database. This is a one-time operation that we do in the beginning, and you won't ever have to do this again. You can do this yourself by following these instructions, or you can call the IT department and they'll come over and help you do it. But if you want to try it yourself, the thing that we're going to do first is go down to the control panel. We get there by clicking the Start button and selecting Control Panel from the list on the right. And then from there we click Administrative Tools. The administrative tool that we want to use is called Data Sources ODBC. So we want to double click that. That gives us a list of the data sources that are currently defined to this computer, and so we want to add the ODS database to that. So we're going to click the Add button, and from here we're asked to select a driver that we want to use for this data source. The driver that we're going to use is at the bottom of this list, so we scroll down to find SQL Server. Now you'll notice that there is a Finish button at the bottom of this window, and there will be Finish buttons as we go through this process. You don't want to click the Finish button until we get to the very end, so do not click the Finish button, but double click SQL Server to select that driver, which takes us to another window which asks us what name we want to use to refer to this data source. We can use any name we wish. I'll use ELLU-ODS for Ellucian ODS. Then it wants us to describe the data source. So this is just a description that tells what it is. And so I'm going to type in colleague ODS server. Now it wants to know, where is that server? What server is it? So the server can be obtained from a drop-down list. The name of our server, or at least its address, is this first entry, this number. This is called an IP address. You can either select it from this list, or you can type it in directly if you don't see it in the list. But the number, the IP address of the ODS server is 172.16.253.13, and so either select it or type that in, and then we want to click Next. We've got to stay away from that Finish button. Click Next. Now it says, how should the SQL server verify the authenticity of your login? And we're going to select the second item in this list, which says with SQL Server authentication using a login ID and password entered by the user. And so you click that radio button and it will select that. Then we see that this checkbox is checked, and we want to be sure. If it's not checked, you want to check it. It says connect to SQL Server to obtain default settings. So we want to be sure that's checked. And now we want to enter the login and password that you use to access the colleague screens. Whatever login and password you use is what you want to enter here. So I'm going to enter mine, and then I'm going to enter the password, okay, and click the Next button. On the next screen, which says create a new data source through SQL Server, here we want to select this checkbox that says change the default database to. So we want to click that checkbox to select it, and then we want to go to the drop down and select ODS production. That's the name of the ODS database. We don't need to change any of the other settings on this page. We just click Next. The next page, we don't need to change anything here either. Now we don't have a Next button. We're at the end, and so we can click the Finish button now, which we get a screen that says here are the settings that you've chosen. You can test it to see if it works, so we'll click the Test Data Source button, and it says test completed successfully, so that means it did work. So we'll click OK, and now we're going to accept these settings by clicking OK here. Now we go back to that original list of data sources that are defined to our computer, and we see that ELLU ODS is there, and I click OK to finish the setup. And so now my computer is configured to see that ODS database, and so I'm done. I can just close down and I'm finished.